Insurance fraud in the UK has hit epidemic levels. It's costing us around £2 billion every year. That's almost £6 million a day. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injuries, even phantom pets. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year it's adding over £50 to your insurance bill. But insurers are fighting back, exposing around 14 fake claims every hour. Armed with covert surveillance systems,
that's the subject out the vehicle,
sophisticated data analysis techniques, and a number of highly skilled police units. They're catching the criminals red-handed.
Just don't lie to us.
All those con men, scammers, and cheats on the fiddle are now caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Coming up, whilst abroad, a businessman claimed to have kicked the bucket to the tune of £1.1 million.
He told her that he died the previous day and he'd already been cremated.
One arsonist gets her fingers burnt when claiming for a fire at her business premises.
There were fuel canisters left uncapped, and the fire service believed that the flammable liquid was used to accelerate the spread of the fire.
And Thames Valley Police are out in force, but wait for no man.
Right, you've got 2 seconds to open it, fella. I don't care if you're naked or not. Open your door.
For peace of mind, many have life insurance to help out family and loved ones when they're gone. These type of policies can run into hundreds of thousands to compensate bereaved families. However, some cunning fraudsters like to try and cash in early. A particular fraudster was on a supposed business trip in the hustle and bustle of Delhi, where he contracted a fatal fever. Mr. Kumar had a life insurance policy for £1.1 million. When the insurers were informed of his death, due to the large amount and the circumstances, they didn't hesitate in handing it over to their investigators.
Mrs. Kumar informed life insurance companies that her husband had died whilst visiting India in November 2011. She stated that her husband contacted her on the 19th of November, said he wasn't well and was going to go and visit a hospital to get himself checked out.
But that was the last Mrs. Kumar had heard from her husband.
And on November the 26th, she's contacted by her husband's friend, a business associate out there, who told her that he died the previous day and he'd already been cremated. She said she was obviously very concerned and upset at this news and asked why she'd not been informed, and he said everything happened so quickly.
To discover he had died was devastating news for Mrs. Kumar. A few days later, she flew out to India to stay with her husband's business partner.
When she arrived in India, apparently she suffered a stomach bug and was bedridden for the duration of the stay. He allegedly gathered the documents for her from the hospital, from the cemetery. She was apparently so ill that she couldn't even make a phone call to the hospital and various people to find out what happened to her husband.
Mrs. Kumar stayed in India for a week before heading home.
I asked her when she returned to the UK if she'd made any further inquiries in respect of her husband's death, and she said she hadn't. She'd been too busy dealing with the insurance companies.
When she returned home, the investigators interviewed Mrs. Kumar, and her story just didn't add up.
There were a number of issues that caused us concern. She initially stated that he'd gone out there with a view to starting up a business to import rugs. Later on in the interview, she explained that he'd actually gone to India with a view to importing computers. When this was challenged, she said she was confused and she'd made a mistake, and it was definitely to import computers.
Not convinced, the investigator took things into his own hands and caught a flight to Delhi to make some inquiries. First stop was a cemetery.
I spoke to 2 cemetery managers in that location. They told me the cemetery didn't exist. Furthermore, they looked at the documents and said the documents were false, and they'd never heard of that particular cemetery.
But the Kumar's deceit didn't stop there.
I then went to the hospital where he'd allegedly died. They searched the records. There was no record of him being admitted. And furthermore, I spoke to the doctor in charge of the medical records and showed him the letter that had been produced by Mrs. Kumar saying that her husband had died. He said that is not the format. He said in 14 years working there in charge of the records, he'd never seen a document like that.
Before leaving Delhi, the investigators' final stop was to visit the family Mr. Kumar had stayed with on his visit.
Spoke to his daughter initially, showed her a picture of Mr. Kumar. She said she'd never seen him before. Spoke to her father on the phone. He said he'd never seen or heard of Mr. Kumar.
By now, the investigator had no doubt that this was indeed a fraudulent claim. When he returned to the UK, the insurer handed the case to IFED, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, where Tom Hill was the leading investigator into the case.
Mr. Kumar allegedly died of a brain fever. The crematorium didn't exist, and the witnesses that were listed as having attended the burial either didn't attend it or couldn't be located.
Their initial inquiries threw up some significant evidence. Bizarrely, there were some really dubious money transactions.
As part of the investigation, we found that Mrs. Kumar had transferred £1,500 to India to Mr. Kumar after the date that he'd allegedly died. This was fantastic evidence for us. The obvious conclusion was that Mr. Kumar was still alive, and he was either still in India or he travelled back to the UK and was living somewhere in the UK.
It wasn't long before IFED were knocking at the family's door.
We found some damning evidence in the form of a letter written by Mr. Kumar to one of his children, in which he appeared to be pouring out his heart as to why the fraud was done and the reasons for it.
Mrs. Kumar was arrested on the spot. However, the news didn't end there.
On the day Mrs. Kumar was arrested, I received information from certain intelligence checks we do that Mr. Kumar had flown back to the UK using a fake name and was somewhere in the Hertfordshire or London area.
This was a breakthrough for IFED. The case was starting to unravel. And further investigation showed there was a motive behind their fraud.
There's a history of failed business ventures and debt that unfortunately had overtaken the family. And I believe this was a way of starting afresh, possibly in India, but more likely, we believe, back in the UK under an assumed identity.
The Kumars were clearly rumbled, and within a few days, Mr. Kumar handed himself in. But unbelievably, they denied faking his death.
They were both interviewed on a number of occasions in which they denied the offence, and they were subsequently charged with 6 counts of fraud. They were in serious financial difficulties, and this was a way out.
In June 2014, the Kumars were sentenced at Southwark Crown Court. Mr. Kumar received 2.5 years in prison, and Mrs. Kumar received a 5-month suspended prison sentence. Which goes to show, he may have had one foot in the grave, but he didn't exactly meet his maker. Still to come, one car owner tries it on with the local bus company.
She's now alleging that she was in the car and she has sustained injuries to her lower back and is now suffering from headaches.
And a businesswoman gets caught playing with fire.
People's motives are complicated and they're tied in with their own personal and business lives, and we don't know what's going on.
Crash for cash is becoming a major policing issue. Currently, UK police forces are investigating 110 of these scams across the country. Reports claim that 1 in 7 personal injury claims are linked to deliberate crashes. These crashes are designed to milk insurance companies of up to £30,000 per crash. It's big money, and it's a serious danger to the public. Britain's police forces are determined to put the brakes on this type of crime, and Thames Valley Police is no exception.
Police, open the door now, last chance!
Detective Inspector Louise Roddy from Force CID has a team of 25 officers dealing with crimes from murder to blackmail and fraud.
We work closely with the Insurance Fraud Bureau and the Crown Prosecution Service to make sure that we've got a watertight case to present at court.
Got a second person in here!
But it's not just costing the insurers thousands. These criminals are putting innocent lives at risk, and people are getting seriously hurt.
These accidents are taking place on busy roads, and the offenders can't possibly know what the end result of their crime will be. So it really isn't a victimless crime at all.
With crash for cash on the rise, Force CID aim to track down these gangs.
Clear!
I do think the action that we've taken also sends out a really clear message that Thames Valley Police aren't prepared to accept these types of offences in our area.
And the police will use everything in their power to bring these criminals to justice.
We will seek to disrupt any offenders, and we will target them if they continue to commit offences.
Today, the police are getting ready to raid the home of a suspected criminal who is thought to play a key role in another crash for cash gang.
Our main suspect at the moment, if he's there, he needs to be arrested.
Sergeant Matthew Foskett is leading the team. They've got warrants to search the premises and hopefully find their man.
Knock politely, see if he comes to the door. There's intelligence that this may be a multi-op premise.
With a multi-occupancy property, it sounds like they might have their work cut out.
If it is multi-occupancy, then there may well be several people there that are completely unassociated with this whole scam. So therefore, we need to respect the people that are present.
Briefed on today's op, Sergeant Foskett and his team don't waste any time in making their way to the location.
I understand that we might be looking at people that are using a range of different identifications to try and avoid detection. In addition to that, we're looking for any information that would relate to collisions that they've had, any paperwork that they've received from insurance companies that they've been filling out to claim for this.
The officers leave nothing to chance and cover all exits. They don't want to give the suspected criminal any opportunity to abscond.
We've got a light on upstairs.
There are more than 5 flats in this one building. It's crucial that they move quickly and take hold of the premises.
Hello, police! Hello, police! Can you come to your doors?
Every door, please!
Police, come to the door! Top floor's clear!
On raids like these, the police use all means necessary. The officers don't muck about. A second kick, and they're in.
Police! Come to the door!
Okay.
Can we have the bar up here, please?
But downstairs, one of the residents is hesitant in opening the door for the police.
Fella, if you don't open the door, I'm going to be kicking it in. No, now. What are you doing in there?
Please, can you open the door?
Pardon? Oh, shower? Right, you've got 2 seconds to open it, fella. I don't care if you're naked or not, open this door. Hello, mate.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Top floor's clear, that room's clear, the lady's got in that one. I've smashed that one in.
Within minutes, the officers have managed to search the property for their key suspect.
We just need to check you out to certain individuals we're looking for today. So once this officer's happy that you're not one of those individuals, we'll take you downstairs and we'll explain to you what's going to go on. But it's just let her, we are going to search every single room and that includes this one. Our chap isn't here. The gentleman that's in the bedroom that you've just come into, he used to share that same room with our man, but he doesn't know where he is now. He can't remember when he moved out. So what I suggest we do is start at the top, just search systematically all the rooms, and we're going to have to, looks like, try the other address that I'll get. Morning, how are you?
While the residents are questioned for possible leads, the officers start a systematic search of the premises.
There's 2 occupants in there. At the moment, we don't believe that they're anything to do with the situation, but they have been detained for the moment while we continue to do the search.
Still to come, it turns out there was more to the man in the shower than meets the eye.
You are under arrest on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud, suspicion of conspiracy to destroy and damage property, and suspicion of dangerous driving.
And the officers race to a second address in their search for the suspected criminal.
It's the police. Could you let us in, please?
In Great Britain, there are nearly 200,000 fires a year. The majority are accidental, but a staggering 1 in 8 are started deliberately. For the most basic of fraudsters, they think they'll just set a light and they'll get a big check. But not when fire forensics play a part. Hawkins are a firm of forensic scientists which carry out fire investigations for the insurance industry.
Our task for insurance companies is to establish what happened in any given incident. A certain number of fires that we investigate are started deliberately. An accidental fire will essentially progress through various fairly well-known stages following certain physical laws. If you find that it's deviating from that in one of a number of ways, then obviously you begin to suspect human involvement.
Using every aspect of science, they can determine the cause of most fires.
If we bring equipment back from the scene of a fire, we can examine it, take it apart in controlled conditions.
However, the reason behind why arsonists start a fire is not always straightforward.
One of the primary motives for committing arson is financial, and it could be for any number of reasons. And in fact, what we try very hard not to do is to second-guess people's motives, because people's motives are complicated and they're tied in with their own personal and business lives, and we don't know what's going on.
One such arson case landed on the desk of Allianz Insurance. But as this fraudster found out, if you play with fire, you'll get burned.
In June 2013, Amanda Bryant reported that there'd been a fire and had damaged the warehouse at the business premises. She'd claimed there was extensive damage to the warehouse, also a roof had collapsed and there was damage to a wall. In addition, there was a lot of damage to a number of items within the warehouse. At this point, it looked like the value of the claim was going to be in the region of £150,000.
But Amanda's claim about the fire wasn't all it was cracked up to be.
Early indications from the police and the fire service suggested that the fire had been set deliberately. There were fuel canisters left uncapped, and the fire service believed that the flammable liquid was used to accelerate the spread of the fire.
Allianz started to take the usual steps in investigating this claim.
We looked into financial background of Amanda Bryant. There was suggestion that she was in financial difficulty at that time. Whilst it's not evidence of a fraud or wrongdoing, it often gives a motive for a fraudulent claim.
There were inconsistencies in Amanda's story, and for the insurer, there's no smoke without fire.
We had suspicions, but we couldn't find any evidence. Some of the inconsistencies were around setting the alarm system. She couldn't remember if she had or not. We'd found out it wasn't set. She'd left the business premises unlocked. There was no sign of forced entry.
For the insurer, this just didn't add up. But they couldn't place her at the scene of the fire.
There were workers next door who'd spotted the fire in its early stages, had called the fire service. They called the policyholder, but Amanda Bryant turned up. She lived 4 miles away, and she turned up in a dressing gown, which would suggest that she wasn't in the vicinity when the fire took hold.
When Allianz were looking to settle the claim, something unexpected was thrown up.
It became apparent that the property had actually been underinsured. Had the claim been successful, Amanda Bryant would only been eligible for a third of that value, and we would have ended up paying only £50,000.
Despite their concerns, the insurers had no hard evidence and decided to settle. But then they received some news.
We received a call from the police who told us that they'd never actually stopped investigating themselves, and had reached a point where they were able to call Amanda Bryant into the police station, and she confessed everything.
It turned out that Amanda had had an accomplice.
Amanda Bryant confessed that she and her son, Aaron Smith, had set the fire deliberately.
Amanda Bryant was found guilty of committing arson and fraud and sentenced to 2.5 years. Her son was sentenced to 12 months for committing arson.
This was a really good result for us, and we were really pleased with the outcome, because this was a very, very serious incident. Not only was she trying to get a financial advantage, her actions and her son's actions could have seriously injured or even caused death to an innocent person.
When making a claim, people come up with many stories, from the sublime to the ridiculous. But some people really do live in an imaginary world, as bus company First Group found out.
On the 30th of November 2011, the bus is travelling through a residential area. It's quite a tight road. There's traffic on sort of both sides, and as the bus has passed a line of cars, he's accidentally scraped one of the vehicles as he's going past.
There was another driver on the bus, and they both got out to inspect the damage.
Just far from being a serious accident, it was a very minor impact. We would expect to see some cosmetic damage to the vehicle. There was only some minor scraping to the bus, but there was a bit of damage to the car door, yeah. At that time, the partner of the car owner has come along to the scene of the accident as well, and they've exchanged details and discussed the case. The drivers then got back to the depot, made his report of the incident, and having obtained the owner's details, we phoned up to arrange for their car to be repaired. We will try and do this within 6 hours of an accident.
During the phone call with the partner, the bus company set about confirming what had happened.
He's confirmed that the bus has driven past and struck the parked and unattended vehicle. We've asked him to just clarify the circumstances again, and once more he's confirmed that that vehicle was unattended.
Well, actually I was outside having a cigarette and saw it happen. The car was parked, he was coming round and he clipped it basically. There's a scrape on the wing mirror. Most of the damage is to the rear quarter panel, the rear light, rear bumper, and also the rear door's been caught with it as well.
As far as the insurer was concerned, the case was closed.
From the report that was made to us, we would just be expecting to see a claim for repairs to the vehicle, possibly some hire, but no chance really of an injury claim to arise from this circumstances, no.
Done and dusted. The incident was filed away, until a claim dropped out of the blue.
1.5 years later, we're rather surprised to receive a claim from the owner of the vehicle, and she's now alleging that she was in the car and she has sustained injuries to her lower back and is now suffering from headaches.
The claimer was obviously getting into the swing of things with her crack at attempted fraud. The bus company thought she's just got to be kidding.
We just weren't satisfied with some of the details of this claim. Firstly, there's a lengthy delay in actually reporting the claim. This is a tactic that's used by a lot of people, hoping that maybe some of the evidence is no longer as clear as it was. People's memories tend to fade after a period of time.
The claimer made quite a few gaffes on the way.
The second issue would be that the lady had reported the accident time as 10:30 to 10:45. The partner of the car owner has actually reported it at 8:45, which ties in with what the bus driver has said as well. So we've got a 2-hour difference in the times of the accident.
Not only did the claimer get in a muddle about the time of the accident, it turned out she also forgot the whereabouts of her boyfriend at the time.
She's actually said in her statement that she was waiting for her children at the time in the car. Later on, she makes another statement saying that she's waiting for her partner.
Wait a minute, what did he say to the bus company earlier?
Well, actually I was outside having a cigarette and saw it happen.
That's what I thought.
She then says that she's had to phone him to get him to the scene. Well, he's already there, which is evidenced by the CCTV. We've reviewed the CCTV and no one gets out of that car for some time, and you know, I've sat there and actually looked through it, and you're just waiting for it to get out of the vehicle and it doesn't happen.
This is the car that's just been hit. When the bus driver has a look to assess the damage, no one seems to be getting out of the car. Wait for it. Wait for it. Even when the bus parks up, still no one gets out of the car. The claimer was clearly lying. First group had no option but to deny the claim.
My message to people lying about their claims is to remember that we go to great lengths to train our staff in fraud detection techniques. We are very well trained in cross-examination of evidence, and most importantly of all, we have CCTV, so remember to smile, you're on camera.
Top floor's clear.
Thames Valley Police have just raided a house of a suspected crash for cash criminal.
You just need to check you out, because certain individuals we're looking for today.
But there are residents living there who are not connected with the offence.
Our chap isn't here. The gentleman that's in the bedroom that you've just come into, he used to share that same room with our man, but he doesn't know where he is now.
Even though the suspected criminal isn't there, the officers don't stop in their search for possible evidence.
So that's done, is it?
Yeah, that's done.
However, it turned out that one of the residents may be able to help the police with their inquiries.
You're under arrest on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud, suspicion of conspiracy to destroy and damage property, and suspicion of dangerous driving.
Handcuffed, he's taken to the police station for further questioning.
On searching the house, we have found a lot of banking information, and some of that banking information is rather inconsistent with large sums being paid into bank accounts that we need to clarify where those payments are coming from as well.
The police have found evidence to suggest their suspect is at a different address. The officers don't waste a minute and are already on their way. But they don't have a warrant for the premises, so they won't be able to enter with force.
Oh, hi, it's the police. Could you let us in, please?
The police need to establish which flat may house the suspected criminal. Finally, someone answers the door to the officers.
All right, mate, we'll just come and have a chat. Nothing to worry about. We're police officers.
They need to go in to confirm their suspected criminal isn't inside. Unfortunately, they didn't find their suspect at this property. But it wasn't a wasted journey. The officers do leave with some potential leads.
We believe that the male that we were looking for is a regular visitor to that address, if not a resident there. We do have some contact details for him, so that's now off to CID, and they'll be making further inquiries to try and get hold of him.